Now, I PvP a lot in the pet battle world, so I know a thing or two about pets that do well on their own. There are some pets that do very well when combined with other pets and their abilities, but this list will have nothing but my ringer, or cleanup pets. That is, whenever I make a new team that isn't super reliant on all three pets for whatever combo they're trying to pull off, I'll put one of these pets from this list in as the third slot, since they all work so well on their own that putting them in just about any team will make it like 2 times better. Number 10 on this list is the Fiendish Imp. Now, just because I have him at 10 doesn't make him any worse than the other pets on this list. Fiendish Imp is pretty darn good. I only have him at number 10 to start things off strong. Fiendish Imp has a lot of good things going for him. For one, his SS breed has a speed value of 333. Most SS breed pets have a speed value of 325 or lower, making him faster than a ton of fast pets. If you don't know what breeds or SS stands for, I suggest you watch this quick little video to find out. To put it simply, an SS or pure speed imp is great and one of the top 10 best PvP pets in the game. The other breeds, however, are trash and almost worthless. Breeds matter very much in PvP. Now, enough about his stats, let's talk about his skill set. The Imp is good for his great 2 skills, Nethergate and Immolation. Nethergate allows you to switch out your opponent's pet. Not really a big deal, except if you go first. If you go first, it interrupts their turn and does a little bit of free damage. So it's like getting in a quick little free attack while messing with your opponent's strategy. Combine the switch with a dot from another pet, and that's an extra turn of dots ticking. Or if they choose not to switch back into their pet like most players do, as you're losing another turn if you choose to bring your pet back into battle and getting hit in the face. So this ability is great for the free turn it gives you, as well as the potential of 2 free turns of attacking without taking damage. Now, you only gain all this advantage if you go first, which you do a lot with the speed breed. That's why the other non-speedy breeds are pretty much worthless. They don't go first very often and thus don't gain all of that advantage of going first in round. Next, he has Immolation. Immolation is a unique spell that surrounds your pet in a fire shell that does a little bit of damage every turn for 9 turns. The great thing about Immolation is that it also does damage while your imp is switched out, allowing you to essentially have a 9-turn dot going. While that is pretty great, it has a few advantages over actual dots. For one, if your opponent is using a decoy, it counts as an attack, which will get rid of the decoy a lot earlier than normal. And second, the imp himself is a humanoid type, and humanoids heal up for 4% of their health every turn they do damage. Since this Immolation is doing damage from the back row, he's also healing up every turn for 4% of his health, which comes out to a 54 heal every turn, and totals out at about 540 total healing, without modifiers. So the imp can heal for a little over 1/3 of his health every cycle of Immolation. These 2 things combined make Fiendish Imp a very strong standalone pet, and a great asset to any dot team. Now let's go on to number 9 on this list. Number 9 is the Anubish Idol. Anubish Idol can single-handedly take down any dot or critter team. Like most of the pets on this list, he has a lot of good things going for him. For one, he's a humanoid type pet with an HH breed, or a pure health breed, meaning he heals up for 4% of his health every turn and has a huge health pool, so it's more than your average humanoid pet. To put actual numbers to it though, he heals up for 69 health every turn. It doesn't sound like such a big deal until you throw his other abilities into the mix. He also has the weather change move Sandstorm, which reduces all damage pets take by 74 for every single attack. This includes all your pets in the back row, as well as your opponent's pets. That's why this pet is pretty low on the list, actually, because his Sandstorm does make it so he can't just fit into any team pretty easily, as dots and AoE teams are pretty common in competitive teams. But, since dots and AoE teams are pretty common, that makes him great against the meta as well. So, the Idol will be taking reduced damage every turn and healing up for another 69. If you add the 74 reduction and the 69 heal every turn, you're essentially negating 143 damage every turn. The average attack hits for about 300 damage, meaning you're taking about half damage against non-AoE dot or critter pets. If you're going against a dot, critter, or AoE pet, you're basically taking no damage and healing up every turn. Sandstorm also reduces pet hit chance by 10%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I have seen pets miss 3 times in a row from just a 10% hit reduction. His basic attack, Crush, either hits for a little damage or a lot of damage, making it perfect for hitting through his Sandstorm, since it does hit on the high end of damage a lot, for about 425 damage, more often than the low end. His third ability, Deflection, gives you a 100% chance to avoid any attack for the turn, and always goes first, making him perfect for countering fast pets like Fiendish Imp if you can predict their nether gate, and other pets who rely on going first. So, like I said, Anubish Idol just has a lot of things going well for him. He's also really good in non-PvP pet battles, which is not the case for some of the other pets on this list. Number 8 on this list is the Emperor Crab. This will probably be the easiest pet to obtain on this list, as you can grab it from random pet battles in Pandaren. Now, this pet has a few things going well for him. For one, the most popular pet type in PvP are undeads, and this crab counters them like crazy. You see, most of the popular undeads in PvP use dots, and aqua-type pets take 50% less damage from dots, as well as 33% less damage from undead moves. So, if taking almost 80% less damage from undead dots isn't good enough, it also has a Shell Shield ability which is very similar to the Anubish Idol Sandstorm effect, only it's only applied to the crab himself. So, while he has Shell Shield up, the crab just straight up doesn't take dot damage, even from non-undead dots. Now, having immunity to 90% of the dots isn't all he has going for him. This crab, the pure power breed, has one of the highest attack powers in the game, making his normal moves hit very hard. But power also increases your healing, kinda like spell power for casters, and the Emperor Crab has a really nice heal called Healing Wave on a short 3-round cooldown, which heals for around 570 thanks to his massive power value. Now, remember how I said earlier that the average attack does around 300 damage? Well, his heal is almost 2 times that value, meaning for every 1 heal, he heals up for nearly 2 attacks worth of damage. Plus, with Shell Shield, he's taking less damage anyway, which makes his heal even more valuable. This crab has the potential to 1v3 a whole team of undeads, thanks to his awesome stats and moveset. Number 7 on this list is the TeroClaw Hatchling. This is a newer pet I've been trying out that is so good that I've been using it a lot more lately, and I have a really hard time killing them when I go against other ones. Now, let's talk about all the good things this pet has going for it. For one, it's a flying type with dodge. Dodge is an ability that is super valuable if you're faster than your opponent, since the flying ratio is to give you a 50% speed boost while you're above 50% health, meaning you're faster than pretty much everything except other flying type pets. If you go first and use dodge, you get 2 dodges out of it instead of 1, and any move that allows you a free attack with impunity, like the Imp's Nethergate from earlier, is pretty great. But that's not all. There is one other flying type pet with dodge, but TeroClaw Hatchling also has a heal, a 5-round hot that also classifies you as an elemental type. While the type change isn't all that important, since you keep your flying racial as well, it's the 5-round hot which makes TeroClaw Hatchling the best flying type pet in PvP. You see, when you go below 50% health, you lose your speed bonus and become half as useful, as your third attack, Alpha Strike, also relies on you going first, just like dodge. But since he also has a heal, you can just pop your heal and swap out once you're below 50% health, and bring him back in later with the fully healed pet with their flying racial intact. There aren't too many other flying types with a heal, and no other ones with an actual hot. And it's because its heal is a strong hot, and the fact it's one of 2 flying type pets with dodge, just make it a one-of-a-kind, really, really strong pet. Number 6 on this list is the Son of Seethe. This is another relatively new pet who is just as annoying to go up against as the TeroClaw Hatchling, but in a much different way. Son of Seethe has a unique advantage of having a healing ability available in all 3 slots, 2 of which are so powerful I'm surprised they haven't been nerfed yet. On top of having 3 healing abilities, it also has an unusually high power value of 338 for not being a pure breed. Just for comparison's sake, the average pure power pet has 325 power, with the crab being a unique type at 357. While not as high as the crab, it is still pretty darn high. Also, this pet is undead. The undead racial is pretty OP in PvP, so that's just like icing on the cake for this guy. Now, let's talk about its 2 OP heals. First off, we have Touch of Anubis. There's only one other pet in the game with this ability, and that's the Son of Anubis, who is a pretty good pet for this ability alone. While it doesn't heal right off the bat, it does put a 2-round debuff on the target that will heal any pet that attacks them for around 150 to 200 per hit. So, if you dot the target up first, or drop a turret, your pet in the back row will heal up for a considerable amount, since it's a flat value heal, and not really based on the damage actually done. There's also Drain Blood, which does 10% of your opponent's health as damage, and you heal up for 300% of that damage. That's basically healing up for 30% of your opponent's health every 3 turns, which is a huge heal depending on how much health your opponent actually has. In fact, it's such a big heal that I wouldn't be surprised if it's nerfed in the near future. And lastly, he has an Absorb, or Blood Plague to choose from for his last ability. Absorb doesn't hit very hard, but it does heal you for 100% of the damage it does. And Plague's Blood is like a poor man's Touch of Animus, except it hits harder than Absorb and can be spammed. Both are good with Son of Seethe though, so you'll probably see other Son of Seethe in PvP using either. Number 5 on this list is another newcomer from Warlords, and that's the Hydraling. This is one of the few pets on this list that has actually been able to solo another team. He literally went 1v3 against a halfway decent team in PvP. I was kind of shocked when it happened, and he's been a ringer pet for me ever since. Now, why is this pet good? Well, for one, it's another Aqua type, which allows him to counter the most popular breed of pet, Undeads, for the same reason the Crab does. Except the Hydraling has a different kind of shell shield than the Crab, called Shell Armor. The shell shield the Crab has reduces damage from every single attack by 94, allowing him to be immune to dot damage. The Hydraling's Shell Armor reduces damage from every attack by 231, which is a little more than double Shell Shield. Only, armor only lasts 3 turns and has a 5-round cooldown. But during those 3 turns, you're pretty much taking no damage. He also has a Call Lightning ability, which adds an extra attack to every attack, making it super great for dot teams, without the drawback of your opponent using the storm as well with their dots, thanks to your Shell Shield. And finally, he has an Arcane Blast type of attack, in that every time you attack it gets stronger and stronger until it's hitting for almost 500 damage every hit. It usually takes quite a few attacks before it's doing max damage, but since Shell Armor allows you to pretty much take very little damage for 3 turns, you can stack it up quite nicely. Of course, you can also take his Tail Slap instead, which functions pretty much exactly like the Anubish Idol Smash, where it either does low damage or a ton of damage, leaning on the ton of damage and more often than not. So, why exactly is that all so great? Well, he's one of the few good pets that can actually use Call Lightning, which is a pretty good move with a lot of teams. And because he's one of 2 pets who actually has the ability Shell Armor, which is just a super solid defensive ability. Number 4 on this list is the mechanical Pandaren Dragonling. This pet was already pretty good back in Miss, and was made even better when they buffed its Thunderbolt ability. The Dragonling is a pure speed breed type with a decoy, an ability that blocks 2 attacks. So, right out the gate it gives you a free turn to attack if your opponent doesn't have a way to take it out with only 1 attack. And since the Dragonling is fast, it can use it before your opponent to block certain abilities. Now, for a pure speed breed pet, he's actually pretty slow at only 309 speed. The basic speed for pure breed speedy pets is 325, so he'll get outsped by every other fast pet in the game, but can outspeed all non-fast breed pets, so it's totally fine for PvP. Of the previous 6 pets on this list so far, only 2 of them are good because of their speed. The other 4 do just fine without being fast, which means you see a lot of slow pets in PvP that the Dragonling will outspeed no problem. In addition to the really good decoy ability, he also has a dragon type move, making him the perfect counter to magic type pets. He takes less damage from magic abilities and deals extra damage to them with his dragon breath. In addition to that, he's got Thunderbolt, a great AoE ability that does almost 600 damage split evenly between all your opponent's active pets, meaning if they only have 1 pet left, it's getting hit with 600 damage, which is a crap ton for a single, non-multi-turn attack on a short 3-round cooldown. Number 3 on this list is a dual tie between the Unborn Valcke and the Ghastly Kid, and that's because of their overpowered haunt ability. Back in Miss, the most popular pet in PvP was the Unborn Valcke by a huge margin, and it was pretty much solely for her haunt ability. Haunt is a 4-turn dot that counts the user as dead while it's out, but the pet doesn't actually die. It just comes back to life with whatever health and dots it had on when it used the ability once the haunt dot ends. What makes this ability so powerful is not only is it a strong dot, but it counts the pet who used it as dead, meaning they take no damage in the back row from AoE abilities, and they get a free switch. This free switch is probably the biggest reason it's still used so much even today, because that free switch for using a powerful dot is just so big. To top it off, the Unborn Valcke also has a Curse of Doom dot, which does a ton of damage after 4 turns. And since Haunt is a 4-turn dot, they combo quite well with each other. Now, Ghastly Kid is just as good as the Unborn Valcke because it also has the Haunt ability. I should really say that number 3 in this list is any pet with the Haunt ability. Number 2 on this list, while not as popular as the Unborn Valcke, was definitely the second most popular pet in Myths, and was actually a lot better than the Valk. And that pet, of course, is the Death Adder Hatchling. While not as strong as it used to be in Myths, since they gave it some very well-deserved nerfs, it's still a powerhouse. You see, while I was able to get lucky in solo an opponent's entire team on my Hydralin once, it used to happen very often with this guy back in its heyday. So, why is this guy so good? Well, for starters, it has crazy high speed value for its pure speed breed at 341. The only pets that can outspeed it are flying types and pure speed rabbits. Well, not really. There are a few other pets that can outspeed it, but I'm talking about in competitive PvP, and most of the super fast pets, except rabbits, are terrible. And this little guy can take advantage of its incredible speed with a neat ability called Blinding Poison. Blinding Poison reduces your opponent's chance to hit by 100% for 1 round. And if you go first in the round, you get the most advantage out of it. It's similar to Dodge and Nethergate. Except this blind isn't considered a CC, so your opponent won't get the 2 rounds of CC immunity after getting hit by it. It's the only debuff you can put on your opponent that makes them unable to hit you that isn't considered a CC. And that's not all. This little ability only has a 4-round cooldown. All controllable stuns have a 5-round cooldown, making it one of the best CCs in the pet battle game. And back in Myths, it only had a 3-round cooldown. While it's still really good at 4 rounds, at a 3-round cooldown, it was just plain broken. And did I mention that Blinding Poison counts as a poison as well? Which is great for another ability the Death Adder Hatchling has, called Puncture Wound. This ability hits pretty hard, and does double damage if your opponent is poisoned. It's basically like the Poison Conflagrate. And back in Myths, it only had a 3-round cooldown like Blinding Poison. It has a 4-round cooldown now, like Conflagrate, because it definitely hits as hard as a 4-round ability. And since most pets switch out once they get blinded poison anyway, your last move is a sweet dot called Poison Fang. This hits for about half as much as a basic attack on application, and puts a 5-round poison dot on the target. Most players switch out pretty often against Death Adders, so getting a 5-round dot on a few of your opponent's pets really whittles them down very nicely. So the basic rotation for a Death Adder is Blinding Poison into a Poison Fang, since they switch out 9 times out of 10 after getting hit by the blind, into a Puncture Wound for some major damage, leaving you with only 2 turns to wait for Blinding Poison to come off cooldown to do it all over again. And finally, the number 1 pet on this list. This pet is a very underrated pet and not played often, but it's not uncommon for me to take out 2 pets with him before finally kicking the bucket. And to be honest, some of the other pets on here are better than him, but he's definitely my favorite pet. And this pet is the Vengeful Porcupette. Now, why is the Vengeful Porcupette so good? Well, he's got a few things going well for him. First off, he's got this ability called Spirit Spikes, which is a super strong Shell Shield type ability that reduces all damage by 150, and will do a little over 300 damage to anyone who attacks. What's so great about this ability is that it's a defensive move that also packs a pretty powerful punch. 300 damage is about the average amount of damage a basic attack does, all while taking 150 less damage. This ability only lasts 1 turn, and most players don't attack you or just switch out once it's up, sort of like what they do when hit with Death Adder's Blinding Poison. But if you go first in the round, you're almost guaranteed to get off a spike hit before your opponent decides to switch out, and going first with Porcupette is not all that hard. You see, the Porcupette is pretty darn slow at only 252 speed, but has a move called Powerball, which does a little damage and gives you a permanent 20% speed boost. That's right, permanent. The speed boost will last for the rest of the match. Powerball once, and you're faster than all slow pets. Powerball twice, and now you're faster than Death Adders. And if you remember correctly, Death Adders are pretty damn fast. And if you really want to go for it, a 3rd Powerball will make you faster than all other pets. So, while his base speed is not great, all you need to do is get off 2 Powerballs and all of a sudden you're faster than everything but rabbits and flying types. Once you get your speed boost, you're ready to Spirit Spike to do some nice reflect damage. Then you can use your last ability, Flank, which completes the trifecta of having perfect abilities that all synergize well with each other. You see, Flank is a critter type ability, meaning it does extra damage against undeads, the most popular pet in PvP. Which is a great plus right there. But in addition to that, it's a multi-turn move that will hit 1 to 2 times for about 150 damage, plus an additional time if you're faster than your opponent. So, If you're unlucky, it only hits 2 times for the same damage as a basic attack, but more often than not, it will hit that 3rd time, making it do significantly more damage than a basic attack. And I should also mention that usually this guy will be below 50% health around the time you get off your 2nd Powerball, which activates his Beast Racial, which lets him deal 25% extra damage. With liberal use of Spirit Spikes and Smart Switches, the Porcupette can last forever under 50% health, doing 25% more damage. He's one of the few beast pets who can safely stay under 50% health for extended periods of time. I've had matches where he was able to clean up the remainder of my opponent's pets with like 100 health left, just because he powerballed a few times earlier in the match and was able to spike and outspeed flank everything left alive. And that's it for my top 10 PvP pets. This list was made mostly by personal preferences, but I have done a ton of PvP battles, so if you didn't see your favorite pet on this list, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it probably is. If you're interested in pet battling, I suggest you subscribe to my Pet Battle channel, where I have new pet battle videos every day, 90% of which are PvP pet battles. So if you want to see some of these pets in action, that's the place to go, since like literally no one else does PvP pet battles on YouTube.